Welcome back to the debate. Joining me on the show today, Clinton Morrison and Plymouth Argyle manager Ryan Lowe. Guys, let's turn our attention to Spurs. Not been a brilliant few weeks for Tottenham. Crashed out of the Champions League, of course, 4-0 on aggregate to Leipzig. Out of the FA Cup to Norwich on penalties. Currently 8th in the Premier League. What has your take been on Tottenham for the last few weeks, Clinton?
Disappointing, massively disappointing. Underachieving. I know they've got injuries, no Kane, Sissoko. Obviously, that's a big blow, and losing Son, and those are 3 key players for them. That would be regular starters. And then you lose Bergwijn and Davis for the second leg against RB Leipzig. But I just look at them and I think defensively, they're struggling massively. Listen, I don't know if Jose's... He's still a good manager. I still like him as a manager. I think give him to the end of this, obviously give him next season as well, but give him money to spend at the start of next season and then see how he goes on. A lot of people will criticise Jose and say, has he evolved? Has he moved forward? Obviously, you look at the likes of Jurgen Klopp, Pep Guardiola, probably the 2 best managers for me in world football at the moment. But he needs to try and evolve and maybe change it, because at the moment, Tottenham are going backwards. Listen, the players have to have a look at themselves. They're underperforming massively. And that just goes to show me how well Pochettino was doing with them group of players. But you can see from, even though they got to the Champions League final last season, there was a problem. They got to that Champions League final by luck. There was a lot of luck. But you got to earn your luck in football, so credit to the players, they did. But when you miss a key player like Harry Kane, it is a big
We'll chat about all the circumstances and the injuries in due course. Let's focus on Jose first. We can have a look at his win percentage. So from his first spell in the Premier League, when he was at Chelsea, of course, very successful time, 70.8% win ratio. His second spell in the Premier League with Chelsea, Man United and Tottenham, of course, 55.9% win ratio. Now, of course, Jose Mourinho has been one of the most decorated managers in history, Ryan. Is he, just listening to what Clinton's saying there and talking about Pep and Klopp and their styles, is he still the special one for you, Jose?
No, he's definitely not the special one. I think, as Clinton alluded to, the special ones is Klopp and Guardiola for me. Brendan Rodgers should have a shout in as well, because I think he's a good manager. With Mourinho, does he say things for the media? Does he say things about his players? Should he keep that in-house? I think, yeah. There's certain things you can say and what you do. But I think he needs to find the formula now of getting that win percentage ratio back up. It's tough as a manager, because these are top managers for me, and I look at them with the biggest respect out there, that you eventually want to try and get where they are. But I think Mourinho, one, he probably needs some money to get some players in. He probably wants to change the style of play, but can them players do it? Potentially not. But it just goes to show how well Pochettino did do. For me, Pochettino was more galvanised the squad. You two will know better, being Tottenham fans, and I'll get that in quickly. About togetherness with them, and he always had his arm around him. Mourinho's done that before in certain clubs, but at this moment in time, is he just trying to finish as high as he possibly can and get the season over and done with, and then hopefully get some money to spend, because I think he certainly does need it.
Interesting hearing you talk about Ollie, though, in the previous part, saying that he needs time and that he's had that time, and the form of Man United has seemed to turn the corner. Is it a bit unfair to judge Jose so early on, because he hasn't even had a full season yet? Do you think we need to give him time before he's judged for it?
That's what I said before. You can't just keep giving contracts of 2 or 3 years or 4-year contracts to these managers who earn a lot of money, by the way, and then getting rid of them after 6 to 8 months. You can't do it. What I'd like to know is, now that the new stadium's open, we were talking about the comparisons with Liverpool 4.5 years ago to where Tottenham were. If Tottenham put all their eggs in one basket for the new stadium, where Liverpool didn't, and went on and produced and bought some players because they never got the new stadium, is Daniel Levy going to give Jose Mourinho 200 million in the summer to spend on certain players? Well, I think he is, because I don't think Mourinho would have went there if he weren't going to be guaranteed some money. So yeah, 100% Mourinho needs to add 3, 4, 5 players of his own calibre, of what he feels is beneficial for Tottenham Hotspur, and then give him a chance. 6 months down the line, if it's not working, then I think most people will say, yeah, well, he's given the money, he's given him a chance. It hasn't worked. But Jose Mourinho is still a fantastic manager. Does he need the personnel? Does he need the players? Does he need the characters? Do they need to play his style of football? 100%, yeah. So he needs time, but also he needs money.
He's spoken a lot in a lot of pre-match, post-match interviews about the need for a pre-season with a fully fit squad. He can't wait for July to have his squad, implement his plans. How important is a pre-season for Jose? Because he's mentioned it a lot. And how can that affect how successful he will become at Tottenham?
Again, I think he wants to implement his style. is non-negotiables, whether that's, every recovery runs a sprint, or you don't give the ball away. If you do, you go and get it back. Whatever his non-negotiables are, he needs to make sure he can drum that into players. And I think sometimes, is the players at Tottenham who probably don't like the idea of the way Mourinho is. Possibly, yeah. Is he upset one or two players along the way? 100% has. But does he need 4 or 5 of his players to come in and go, right, you're my mould, I'm building a team around you, and this is the way I want you to play? 100% needs that chance.
The thing I worry about, and this is a big worry, is that Harry Kane, he's at the peak of his career. He wants to play Champions League football. I think Tottenham have to somehow get into the Champions League for next season. I know it's his club and he loves the club, Harry Kane. And I don't think he will leave in the summer, but I think it's a better cue to keep Harry Kane if you're playing Champions League football. Not just Harry Kane, Son as well, because Son's
So do you think it's that simple for Kane? If Spurs don't finish in the Champions League place
I'm not saying he's going to leave, but
could lose Harry Kane.
Yeah, he'll have his head turns because Harry Kane should be playing in the Champions League. He's one of the best strikers in European football. He scores goals. So, and that's not just Harry Kane, that's other players at Tottenham as well.
On that though, Clint, I think Harry Kane, again, we don't know him, but I think he'd respect Jose Mourinho, because Jose Mourinho would have said to him, the captain, the leader, and the main man of the club, this is what I want to do, but I need help. Now, there's no way for me. I don't think Harry Kane's going to jump ship this season from Tottenham. I agree. Next season, if they don't make Champions League and he gives him 12 months and goes, right, go on then, Gaffer, what have you got? And he doesn't produce them, then Harry Kane may turn around and say, well, look, I can go to Real Madrid or Barcelona or whatever and go and play Champions League and win up plenty of trophies. So I think it's a big, important 12 months for Jose Mourinho next season. But ultimately, it's a big summer for him because of what type of players he can attract to Tottenham Hotspur.
You mentioned Harry Kane there, of course, out injured, as we all know. Another player out injured was Steven Bergwijn from the Burnley game. Tottenham having very, very bad luck indeed with injuries. These were the scenes off the back of Tottenham's draw against Burnley. And it just illustrates, the injuries that Tottenham have. Now, these are just the players that have been out for a sustained period of time. It's worth pointing out there have been injuries to other players, not even on this list, the likes of Harry Winks and Serge Aurier, but these are the players that have had sustained period of time, Clinton. And looking at this list, it's not just quantity, but it's quality as well, because you could argue that that's the basis of almost Tottenham's, a lot of them starting players. Lo Celso certainly, Heung-min Son certainly, Harry Kane, Ben Davies, Jan Vertonghen. A lot of them are really key players. When you look at that injury list, do you have sympathy for Jose? Could any team have done much better with that injury list, do you think?
Yeah, of course you have sympathy. You lose your main marksman in Harry Kane, obviously, and Heung-min Son, who then stepped into Harry Kane's shoes. And Sissoko, I think Sissoko was Tottenham's player of the year last season. Sissoko is a player in midfield. He's that battering ram. He takes you up the field. He goes past challenges. He's really good. The one player who should do more is Odembele. I think he was the record signing. I've watched a lot of him at Lyon. Yeah. I think he's a superb player.
Technically very good.
Technically really good, but he needs to get his fitness up.
That he's been criticised.
Yeah, but he needs to. But instead of coming out and criticise him in public, keep that in house. And maybe he's a player who needs the arm around the shoulder and tell him how good he can be and make him work on his fitness. Listen, the player has to look at himself as well. You've gone to a big club like Tottenham. You have to produce, make sure you're in the right shape and form and stuff, and the fitness and stuff. He hasn't been like that, so he has to look at himself. But just don't come out and just kind of throw him under the bus, which he did. I don't like that in him. I don't like that in manager. No, I'm not a fan of that. I think you can keep that in-house. Jose's right to say that because he hasn't been fit and he hasn't been good enough, but keep that in-house because that's how you're going to get the best out of the players. Yeah. I don't think that, but he's a tremendous talent. I do like him.
Do Spurs, very quickly, need a big rebuild for you? Do you think he'll be given the money, Jose?
Well, I think rebuild, you look at the injury squad there, if they're contracted to Tottenham Hotspur for the next year or two, they've got a great squad. Yeah. But I think Mourinho will, he'll want 3 or 4 players because Jose Mourinho does. Everywhere he's been, he's signed players. He's had to spend money. So for me, Jose Mourinho going to Tottenham Hotspur, has he gone there just to be 5 to 10, finish the 5th to 10th place a season? No, he's gone there because there must have been an agreement in place that they're going to get some money to spend and he's going to get Tottenham Hotspur back into the Champions League places, surely.
Okay.
And Jose is the man. Give him a chance.